Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Rappin' Wrestling. It is your boy T the Monster. We got a lot to discuss because yesterday, of course, was Raw on Netflix. A lot of things happened yesterday on Raw on Netflix. Let me pull my notes up here. A lot of things happened yesterday on Raw on Netflix, and I'm going to be here to discuss everything that happened on Raw on Netflix with you guys. So, that said, let's start with the first thing, of course, on the agenda, an appearance from The Rock. Of course, if you follow the channel, you would have saw that I posted on as a shorts video that The Rock stated that he was going to be in Los Angeles for Raw on Netflix, which he was. He actually kicked off the show right after Triple H, so it was great to see The Rock there as well. What is his role currently? I thought honestly that The Rock may have done something or would have been doing something to set him up for a match at WrestleMania, possibly with Roman Reigns or with Cody Rhodes. But as we saw, Rock kind of came out in a face kind of persona. I'm not sure if that's because they had the Netflix directors and everyone else there sitting front row or whatever the case may be. Maybe Rock as a face is better for business. Not really sure. But The Rock did come back yesterday. Like I said, I thought he would set up something for WrestleMania, in which he did not. It was great to see him come back and also grace Roman Reigns with the Ulafala, of course, after winning against Solo. So, that said, will we see The Rock at WrestleMania this year? That would be lovely to see, especially after the beginning of 2024, after WrestleMania, where him and Cody met in the ring and he gave him back whatever it was in his hand, stating, I'm coming back for whatever, a match or whatever the case may be. So it was great to see The Rock, of course, there on Raw on Netflix, him being, of course, a staple in the Attitude Era and actually just being on the board of directors right now in general. So it would be it would make sense for him to be there on the show, even though they did have the Golden Globes or something like that the night before. So of course he was in LA and he was available. So Rock came back. After that, we have John Cena. John Cena came back as well. He was already scheduled to return, and honestly, it's going to be a little interesting year for John Cena, seeing that this is his farewell tour. This is the last year that we will see John Cena in a full schedule type capacity. So John Cena yesterday came back, showed himself to the WWE Universe, thanked everyone, of course, for all the memories and all the great matches and them being honest and vocal with their voices. More importantly than that, John Cena stated that he will actually be returning to get into the Royal Rumble, and he said he was going to try to come in and win the Royal Rumble. He's actually the first one, I think, who actually they're going to be entering the Royal Rumble. So it'll be interesting to see in the coming days to see who else is going to declare themselves for the Royal Rumble. John Cena stating, of course, his reason for getting back in the Royal Rumble is to, of course, try to go for that 17th championship to see if he can break Ric Flair's record. Honestly speaking, it'll be interesting to see how WWE decides to mold this storyline for John Cena with this coming year. Will he get the 17th title and break Ric Flair's record? Me personally, I think he should, for the simple fact that as time progresses and as more and more new wrestling fans come into play, no one's going to remember the folks like Ric Flair, Bob Backlund, Bruno Sammartino, etc. If you go to a 5-year-old right now or a 6-year-old and you ask him who Ric Flair is, will he know? But they'll probably know who John Cena is. So, just something to think about. But after that, of course, there were a bunch of different surprises last night over at the Raw on Netflix. Surprises, of course, from everyone. There were returns. We saw The Undertaker come back yesterday. He came back as the American Badass after the Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley match. He pulled up on a bike and kind of fist bumped Rhea, kind of congratulated her on her match and winning her title back. So, great job in seeing The Undertaker. Of course, great job by WWE in booking him correctly and not kind of having him steal the spotlight. My question about that is, I heard that Stone Cold Steve Austin was actually supposed to be in town and was supposed to be there. Kind of like how it was at WrestleMania 40, in which they ended up calling The Undertaker and being like, hey, last minute, can you come in and do this run-in? My question to WWE is Undertaker who you call when you can't get another superstar? Or is Undertaker who you call when you just can't get Stone Cold Steve Austin? Interesting, you know. I just wanted to point that out really quick. I've noticed that same thing happened over at WrestleMania, so we'll see what goes from there. But I also love how they used a lot of the talent in the crowd and how we saw different celebs there as well. We saw Tiffany Haddish. We saw I forgot the dude's name who's in the Arrow, Mr. ML, whatever his name is. We saw him. We saw a couple of comedians, daily talk show hosts. We saw Macaulay Culkin was there, Vanessa Hudgens was there, a bunch of different array of celebrities, and then also, of course, current WWE superstars were in the crowd as well. Braun Breaker, LA Knight, Shinsuke Nakamura, Lyra Valkyria, Michelle McCool, Undertaker's wife was also there, which makes sense because I just mentioned that Undertaker was there as well. Who's to say that maybe they rode together to get there? So, lots of surprises there. I love that. Another person I wanted to mention that was surprisingly to see in the crowd, and it was like, ooh, I love it. It's always a breath of fresh air to see her. Stephanie McMahon. It was great to see Stephanie McMahon on the show, of course. Her being the only McMahon that's really getting TV time, I guess you would say, or that was actually shown on the Raw on Netflix. And I think that was important for the simple fact that, of course, we can't get Vince on there now because of obvious lawsuits and issues going on with him. You had to have a McMahon on that show for Monday Night Raw for the simple fact that it's a fucking McMahon. They created the show. You gotta have somebody there. So, of course, Triple H, him being married into the company, that's cool and everything, but for them to show Stephanie McMahon and her to get the standing ovation that she did, love seeing that for her, man. I love Stephanie McMahon. She always played a great character. She always had great character work. And of course, you know, she's a fucking McMahon. Like, that's her company. Like, literally, it's her family company. She has to be there. So, another thing I want to point out that was super important. Actually, before I say that, let me just mention that Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, a tremendous combination of commentators on commentary. That's a lot to say. A tremendous combination. I love seeing those two together. Last night, it looked and sounded like those two were having the night of their lives on commentary, especially during Jey Uso's during Jey Uso's entrance, which felt like a performance on the way to the ring. You saw them standing on top of the commentators table, having a good ass time and shit, rocking with the crowd, as you should be doing on your job. Michael Cole been with the company for 20 plus years. He should have the right to get up there and celebrate and be himself on camera and not be as restricted as he once was. Pat McAfee, of course, playing the ultimate wingman to Michael Cole as well, getting involved and showing another side of Cole also. Pat McAfee is just brilliant on the microphone wherever he goes. So good job with that. Another thing I want to talk about that I was going to say before, Travis Scott was blowing a whole ass blunt on TV, on Netflix, on WWE programming. So I want to applaud that. I know somewhere RVD is happy as fuck for seeing Travis Scott blow a whole ass blunt during a Jey Uso entrance yesterday. So I wonder if Jey Uso was getting a little contact on the way to the ring there. You know what I'm saying? I know somebody in the crowd was for sure. So shout out to WWE for even allowing that to happen. Because we going places now in WWE on Netflix. We got blunts on TV. Who's to say what happens next? Who's to say what happens next? And lastly, out of surprises yesterday that we saw,
you know, I've had all kind of tag team partners over the years, but you, the fans, have been my greatest tag team partner because you guys have stuck with me through thick and thin, dudes.
They booed the fuck out of Hulk Hogan, and I'm actually happy for it, for the simple fact that, number one, you've been caught up on saying some racist shit more than once at this time, so it's like, bro, what the fuck is going on? And WWE, I wouldn't have brought him back, to be completely honest with you. I would not have brought Hulk Hogan back because, yes, I get that he was there during the beginning of the whole peak of wrestling, and I think Michael Cole said something along the lines that we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, which I personally believe is kind of bullshit. Yes, he was a big star and shit like that in the 80s. However, I'm sure Vince could have put somebody else up in that same spot that could have brought the company just to the same amount of heights, if not more. Hulk Hogan had like 5 wrestling moves. And nothing, I'm not taking anything away from his legacy or anything like that. He got caught up saying something racist. And it's like, if you get caught saying something racist more than once, like first you were on tape saying it and they caught you on the camera, then 2, you're doing the same thing with your American beer company where like, I think they were trying to get like some black models or something like that to represent them and push their product as ambassadors, and a bunch of like racist stuff started happening from there. Will they take his, now since he got booed, will they take his ad off of the mat now? I'm curious about that. That said, speaking of ads and mats and things like that, before I get into the next topic, really quick, they also mentioned yesterday that it was the highest grossing arena show that WWE had did.
Really?
I be skeptical about that kind of shit. Because it's like, how do y'all know so quickly? I mean, of course, you got folks coming in through the gate, people are still buying merch and everything like that. How do y'all know so fast if this is the highest gating show? Like, is that based on ticket sales? Well, yeah, gate, because you're talking about ticket sales, but like, is that including merch? Is that including everything else that it goes into that? Because it's like, how y'all know? And not to mention, I've seen a couple of empty seats too, camera side. So of course we couldn't see them on film and on like during the live, program, but I definitely seen a couple of empty seats sitting there right there near the entrance and right there front row, right where Rock's mom was sitting. There's a couple of empty seats there. Now, were those seats reserved for special talent and special guests? Who knows? But I do know that in the times that they did quickly show them on camera, those seats were empty. So, was it the highest grossing show and highest performing gate? Who knows? People said that Crash Holly weighed 400 pounds. Who knows? Who knows? But all right, now let's get into the matches really quick. Let's get into some of the upgrades. Some of the upgrades that took place over at WWE Raw on Netflix. There were definitely a change in a lot of the camera angles. I love the camera angles, how, number one, they had to make space for the extra amount of people that came to the show. So usually where that entrance is, you saw that they made space to put more people there and more seats and things like that, which is cool, which is good job for WWE for doing that. I do like that camera angle though, where the camera was like capturing the behind the entrance, if that makes sense. The angle was shooting from behind the entrance, like CM Punk would come out and walk like this, and he would turn around and then you would see the camera looking right at him. Great camera angle. Keep that camera angle going. I like that because it shows truly how full that arena is, and it provides us with a different angle and a different perspective and point of view, just to kind of see how things are really going on in the match. Second thing that I did like as well, the drone footage. Now, I'm not sure if it was a drone, but I'm like 85 to 90% sure that it was a drone that was in that arena that was flying through. It came from outside into the arena, like from the concourse into the actual stands and around the ring and circled everything. I love that shot for the simple fact that it kind of reminds me of how the NFL does their wire-to-wire camera when they're going over the place. Now, my thing about that is, with you doing the drone footage and stuff like that, how difficult will that be after a while? Whereas like fans are like going to be pointing out like, look, there's a drone here. Look, there it is right there. Like eventually that's going to start happening, I think. But good job on the production team for getting that taken care of. It's good to see a different angle and a different point of view from there. Another part of the upgrades that we saw yesterday in the ring, which one you can't really miss, is the fact that they had all the different types of ad placements there on the actual ring mat. So I think they kind of conditioned us with that before by showing the Prime logo, of course, with Logan Paul and things like that as well. But just to kind of see them make it more official. The ring mat is black. It gives like that dark feel, like okay. All right, this is a whole different feel. And then having the different ads placed around it kind of gives it that big fight though. That's what it kind of gives it, because it has all those different ads there. So shout out to WWE, of course, for upping the production yet again in that. And lastly, one of the upgrades that I did see that I did kind of like also is the referees have new uniforms. Okay, that's nice. So it went from the blue with the bow tie in the 80s and the 90s to the black and white stripe in the 90s and 2000s and up to now they're wearing these kind of like t-shirts. It reminds me of the NBA a little bit, where they got the t-shirts where they're not actual stripes. I mean, there are like two little stripes here, like right here, but it's not like the black and white that we are so accustomed to seeing in WWE. So shout out to them and good job to them for upping their production with that. And I'm sure referees like Chad Patton and Lil Nate, aka Charles Robinson, are happy to get new shirts and have a whole new look and new feel to the vibe of them when they're actually calling the match. So shout out to them on that. Now, let's actually get into the matches. So the first match of the night was, of course, the Tribal Combat match with Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Couple things about this match I want to talk about. Number one, Solo earned my respect as I won't say he's a top guy yet, but he earned my respect in being able to see his growth as not only a character, but as a wrestler also. Him going up against his real life cousin, Roman Reigns, in a match like this, Tribal Combat, which is essentially a no disqualification, anything goes match. It was great to see the crowd get into it. The story, of course, being what it is, Roman Reigns, the OTC, the original tribal chief, of course, Solo Sikoa coming in to take that title from him, no pun intended, and then take his Ulafala and basically claim himself as the tribal chief since Roman lost. He came in and spanked that ass. Of course, Roman Reigns won, but like I said, Solo got my respect in that match. There were "this is awesome" chants coming from the match. Plenty of false finishes as well, just to kind of get that crowd into it. We saw interferences from Kevin Owens. We saw interferences from one of the Usos. We saw interferences, of course, from Tama Tonga. We saw interferences from Jacob Fatu. Of course, there was going to be drama filled toward the finish of that match when all those people in those spots, they were allowed to shine perfectly, which didn't overshadow the match too much, and they were all allowed to, or I'm sorry, they all perfectly did their job in the time that they were given. So great job between both men, Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Now it is going to be interesting to see what happens with both men after this. WrestleMania looming, of course. Solo's going to need a feud. He's going to need someone to feud with if he's going to be on that WrestleMania card. My question is, who does Solo feud with that's going to make it believable, where it makes Solo elevate and it makes the person that he's feuding with elevate as well? I think they need to keep pushing Solo to get better and better and better so he can eventually become a main eventer. Roman Reigns now, of course, him being the undisputed original tribal chief of the bloodline. Who will he feud with? As I mentioned before in a previous episode, I do believe that they are looking to feud Roman with CM Punk at WrestleMania 41 for one of those nights as the main event. Will that happen? Who knows? We'll be here to see that, and I'll be here calling on it too once it does happen, if it does happen. Second match of the night, of course, we're going to go ahead and get into Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Now, I just personally want to say, nothing against any of these women, it's just that this storyline I felt like it dragged on a little bit too long. Nothing wrong with that, it's just that as a viewer and as someone who's watched wrestling for 20 plus years, I'm like, okay, what's the payoff on this? Like, Liv already got her boyfriend, Liv already got the belt. What is Rhea like? Is she winning this feud or is she losing this feud? What's really going on? So for this all to culminate last night, of course, with Rhea and Liv both putting on a great match, honestly speaking, it still was a great match, even though I was kind of waiting for the feud to die down. Both women put on a phenomenal match. They kept each other safe in the ring. Both of them have actually gotten better over the entire year in character work and in ring work. And as I said last time on my last video, I still believe that Liv Morgan was the female MVP of the year. And I'm curious to see what happens with her going forward now, going into the next storyline, building up into Mania. Same with Rhea Ripley. Now with Rhea Ripley having the belt, so she's probably going to carry it into Mania, more than likely. Royal Rumble coming up, so there's going to be a women's Royal Rumble. Does Charlotte return? Does Becky Lynch return? Who's going to be there to have that top spot right there at WrestleMania with Rhea Ripley? Me personally, either one of the two, Charlotte or Becky Lynch. I would love to see that match because number one, it's going to be a great match and they're great wrestlers. And two, it'll be interesting and great to see a whole entire new feud. Now, I hear that Charlotte's supposed to be coming back with an entirely new persona. So if she does that against Rhea, who's going to be face, who's going to be heel? Don't know. We're going to have to be there to sit there and find out. So match after that, of course, this match I was a little iffy on, I'm going to be honest with you, and that's only because I felt like it should have been a little bit quicker pace. Uso versus McIntyre, Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. First off, Jey Uso his entrance had that bitch rocking. Like, if you go back to look at the footage on Netflix, you see when he come out. First of all, like I said, Travis Scott blowing a whole blunt right next to him. Did he smoke it before? Did he hit a puff of that before he came through the curtain with Travis? I don't know. Maybe he did. Jay had on glasses. We don't know. But like I said, I felt like this match could have been a little bit more quicker pace, only because I've watched the work of these two. I know they could put on a greater match than that. Not to say that this match was bad or it was terrible. I just wish it was paced a little bit quicker, just a little bit. I'm not sure how much time or the restraints they were given backstage, but would have loved to see a quicker match. And one thing I want to see less in 2025 is super kicks. I feel like everybody is doing the super kick right now. Male, female, commentators are doing super kicks. Ring announcers are doing super kicks. I seen somebody put up the ring behind the scenes and they did a super kick as well. Everybody's doing super kicks. So I'm simply saying, for the love of Shawn Michaels, can we please have less super kicks in 2025? I even know how to perfect a perfect super kick on my child, and he's 2. And it's like, I feel like we shouldn't be doing the move that much, only because in the 90s, that was the shit. And I was always doing that, but now it kind of takes away the power from it. So, can we stop doing that? And of course with this match, I do love the finish. Lashley, I do love the finish also. It was a smart finish because it kind of made it seem like Drew was putting his emotions into the match a little bit, and Jay outsmarted him due to the fact that he was, running the match based on his emotions. I still think Drew McIntyre should have won, or maybe the finish shouldn't have been as decisive. Maybe it should have been some kind of a dusty finish as well, where there was interference from someone that Drew McIntyre previously had attacked. That would have been great. That way it would have made both men still look strong, and I wouldn't be questioning why Drew McIntyre lost. Last match of the night. This was a certified dream match. Punk and Rollins. Now, this match, of course, decade in the making, of course. Them two having the history that they have in previous promotions and training each other and all that storyline and Punk leaving for years and all that kind of stuff. It all culminated last night and them putting on such a tremendous match between the two of each other. The mutual respect and the safety that they had with each other, even though they may or may not still like each other behind the scenes. Point is, they kept each other safe and doing business in the ring, because if someone truly didn't like each other, he could decide to take liberties with you in that ring, which neither one of them did. They kept it very, very professional and respectful in their ring, and they put on a great match and had great spots. We seen Seth Rollins do a couple of GTSs, and it was like, oh, he's trying to beat CM Punk with his own move. He's being Seth Rollins and trying to be putting too much ego into it. And we seen Punk, of course, do a couple of, I think he did 1 or 2 curb stomps, I'm not sure. I know for sure we saw one. And we saw Punk do a curb stomp as well. And honestly, and the crowd agrees with me on this match, I do believe that match was awesome. We got a "This is awesome" chant from that match. So 2 out of the 4 matches last night got "This is awesome" chants. And of course, it being from the dream match, it being CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. So good job to both of those two. What's going to be interesting to see is what happens next between with both of those two. Seth Rollins, what happens with him next now going into WrestleMania? He's going to need a viable opponent to feud with. Seth Rollins, the top dog over on Monday Night Raw, so he's going to need to have a feud going into WrestleMania or Royal Rumble for him to, go at it with him for WrestleMania coming into that season. CM Punk, on the other end, he kind of made his intentions a little noted at the end of the match during that post-match interview. I don't know if you saw that or not, in which Punk was interviewed, and he said pretty much he's coming for CM Punk and or Gunther. And I'm sorry, he's coming for CM Punk or Gunther. He's coming for Cody Rhodes and or Gunther. And honestly, either one of those matches would be great. And that'll finally get, if that was to happen, if he's not going after Roman Reigns, as I mentioned earlier, to see Punk finally get that WrestleMania main event, the one thing that's forever eluded his career, to see him get that, it's going to be love for him to see. It's going to be love to see him get that as well. That's all I have for us for today. That's all I have from the Raw on Netflix. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. And if I missed something, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. What was your favorite part about Raw on Netflix last night? What was something that was missed or something that should have been added? Did it live up to your expectations? Can we expect this kind of stuff happening on a weekly basis? I don't know. We'll find out next week. Till then, holla at your boy.